The rain made the streets shine like black glass. I remember how the city smelled like heat, metal, and waiting. I walked toward the music as if it called my name. I have always moved like someone who expects doors to open. The club was loud enough to shake bones. The lights painted faces in purple and blue like masks. I did not enter like a criminal. I entered like a king returning to a room that once belonged to him. Men looked first at my calm. Women looked first at my eyes, and I felt their attention land like warm hands. Hunger spoke inside me with a steady voice. I have never been free of it, but I have mastered how it looks from the outside. I did not rush. Rushing is for the young and the weak. I watched the crowd like a painter studying a canvas. Everyone was moving, but most of them were asleep inside their own bodies. I could smell perfume, sweat, and expensive liquor. Under it all, I smelled blood, bright and living. I saw her near the edge of the dance floor. She wore red like she wanted the night to notice. She moved with control. That kind of confidence is rare, and I respect it. Her gaze met mine without apology. I smiled because she did not look away. I let the music hide the silence between us. Silence can be more seductive than words. I moved closer, but left her space. Space is a challenge, and a challenge invites pursuit. She closed the distance on her own. The first victory is always the one they think is their idea. I did not touch her at first. I let my presence do the work. Her eyes traced my face like a slow blade. I could tell she enjoyed danger, but only on her terms. My hunger sharpened, but I kept it behind my calm. Calm is my favorite costume. I offered my hand without hurry. I waited like someone who already knew the answer. She placed her fingers in my palm. Her skin was warm, and it reminded me that humans burn so quickly. We moved through the crowd as if the room parted for us. People sense power even when they do not understand it. The hallway behind the club was darker and cooler. The air there smelled like concrete and secrets. She leaned against the wall and studied me. The light above us flickered like a nervous witness. I watched her throat and listened to her pulse. The rhythm was steady, but it grew faster when I stepped closer. I did not press her. Pressure breaks the spell. I let my shadow fall across her like a cloak. I could feel her breath change, and I enjoyed that. Women are not simple, prey. Women choose, and the wise learn to respect that truth. Her chin lifted slightly. That small movement was permission, and permission is everything. I brushed my fingers near her jaw, without fully touching. The almost can be stronger than the act. Her eyes closed for a moment. I felt my ego rise because I had earned the moment without force. I fed with control. My teeth met her skin with gentleness that hid the truth of what I was. Her body tensed and then soft. The mind follows the body when the body believes it is safe. I drank only what I needed. Greed makes mistakes, and mistakes create graves. When I pulled back, her breath was shallow. Her eyes opened slowly, heavy with warmth and confusion. I stayed close without speaking. Silence can feel like devotion, and devotion makes people loyal. She touched my chest as if searching for a heartbeat. I let her find nothing, and still she did not step away. I left her with calm in her veins. I left her with a memory that would return in quiet moments. I returned to the club with the ease of a predator who has eaten. My face did not change, and that is the point. The dance floor was still wild. The music kept pounding like a heart that never tires. At the bar, I noticed a woman with silver jewelry. Her gaze was too steady, and her stillness felt ancient. She did not smell human. She smelled like cold moonlight and flowers that should not exist. The Fae do not hide their hunger like we do. They hide it behind beauty and games. She raised her glass in a slow salute. I returned it because disrespect starts wars. I felt the room shift like wind moving through grass. A new scent entered. Wet fur under. Cheap cologne. Werewolves pushed into the club like they owned it. They always enter as if the world is a cage to be tested. Their leader stared at me from across the floor. His eyes held challenge, and his pride walked ahead of his body. He came closer with his crew behind him. He wanted witnesses for whatever he planned. I did not move away. I've never stepped back from a lesser predator. He bumped my shoulder on purpose. He expected me to react like a human. I smiled because I enjoy theater. He thought the smile was weakness, and that made it more fun. He grabbed my shirt near the collar. Hunts are invitations, and he did not understand what he invited. I moved faster than his eyes could track. My palm struck his wrist, and bone cracked like dry wood. Shock crossed his face. Pain is a truth werewolves do not expect from vampires. His friends lunged together. Their courage was loud, but it was not skill. I stepped into them and let instinct lead. My elbow met a jaw, and the jaw failed. Another swung at my head. I caught his arm and twisted until his shoulder gave way. The leader roared and half-shifted. Claws pushed through skin, and the room filled with fear. Humans began to scream and scatter. The music kept playing, because the world does not care about their panic. He slashed my chest. The pain was real, and the wound smoked. But I did not give him the pleasure of my reaction. I drove him into the wall. The wall cracked, and dust fell like ash. He tried to bite me. I turned slightly and let his teeth find nothing but air. I grabbed his throat and lifted him just enough. His feet scraped the floor, and his eyes widened. I could have ended him. I chose not to, because fear lasts longer than death. I dropped him hard. He coughed blood and rage, and I watched his pride break. His crew rushed to pull him back. They dragged him away, and they did not look at me again. The club security arrived late, as they always do. They stared at the damage and then stared at me. I gave them a calm nod. Calm is a command when people are frightened. The firewoman clapped slowly from the bar. The sound was sharp, like a blade tapping glass. I felt praise land on my ego like a crown. I've always loved applause. Then I felt something colder than praise. Someone else was watching, someone who knew my name without speaking it. I turned and saw her, near the back. She wore black, and her face carried a memory that made my thoughts tighten. I knew her from another century. I remembered her laughter, and I remembered her betrayal. She was a vampire, but not mine. Her presence tasted like envy dressed as elegance. My ego wanted to stride to her like a conqueror. My caution reminded me that old enemies do not appear by accident. She smiled as if we shared a joke. I did not return it, because I did not trust my anger. I walked toward her with measured steps. The crowd parted as if I carried gravity. She did not move. She wanted control of the moment, and I let her keep the illusion. I stopped at a respectful distance. Respect can be a weapon when used with precision. Her scent held grief, ambition, and old hate. Hate makes patience, and patience builds traps. I remembered the night she sent hunters to my door. I lost friends that night, and loss never leaves cleanly. Loss hardens the ego into armor. Armor protects, but it also traps. I looked at her and saw the same hunger for control. She wanted the city, and she wanted my defeat to be public. I gave her silence instead of words. Silence is a wall that reveals nothing. Her eyes flicked toward the bar. The FA woman watched us like a patient spider. I understood then that this club was not only a club, it was a meeting place, and I had walked into a game. My pride wanted to laugh. My instincts wanted to kill, but killing is not always the smartest move. I turned away first. Restraint is a kind of strength, and strength is part of my ego too. I moved back into the crowd. I found another woman near the dance floor with kind eyes and steady posture. She looked at me with curiosity, not worship. That made her dangerous in a different way. I took her hand and pulled her into the music. Dancing hides thoughts, and it hides fear. Her smile was real. It reminded me that desire can be gentle and still powerful. Later, I fed from her wrist with quick control. I left her warm and calm, with no panic in her eyes. When I stepped outside, the rain cooled my skin. City lights blurred into streaks like painted fire. I tasted blood and victory. I also tasted warning, and warnings always taste bitter. The werewolves would return because pride makes them foolish. The rival vampire would move pieces because hatred makes her patient. The Fae would watch because Fae love games more than peace. They always duel, and they always have. I walked into the darkness and felt my ego rise like flame. I told myself the city would bend because I wanted that to be true. Then doubt touched me like a small blade. Doubt is rare for me, which is why it matters. I remembered faces of friends I could not protect long ago. I remembered that strength does not stop every wound. I lifted my chin and let the rain wash my hair back. I decided that if the city wanted war, it would receive a story worth hearing. I am not a hero in my own mind. I am a force, and forces do not apologize. Women will love me and fear me. Men will envy me and test me. I will feed, I will fight, and I will lose some nights. I will still rise, because that is what I have always done. That was only the first night. The real hunger was just beginning.